So the first thing we've got to address is what's the problem here. And so the client's problem is that they don't involve the right people at the start of the project. And so this is where you can come in and take over and make sure this happens properly. So the symptoms of that are, if you've got a commercial client, they can be that their organisation has silos. People don't talk to each other. They don't plan well. They're too busy to plan. They don't involve the right people. They drop the ball. They blow the budgets. All those sort of things. And I'm sure you've seen lots of them. Even back at a family level, one or either of the partners, the husband or the wife or whatever, will have some discussions with you, and then later on the other one gets involved, and before you know it, you're having to revisit everything and change what you'd sort of decided on because you didn't have all the stakeholders involved at the outset. And so who might they be? So that's the problem, and the symptoms are all those things, siloed approach and all that sort of stuff. And so who might they be? Well, they're typically in a client sort of situation with an organisation or a company. They're the same sort of people every time. There'll be someone from IT, someone from HR, someone from comms, someone from sales, someone from property side, and the end users. That's the sort of people we're after. And so what we're going to do is hold something and get their input really quickly and at the start. So the thing that we came back to is, people, their common excuse is, we haven't got time for this, right? And so what we had to do was, therefore we had to make it fun, and we had to make it fast. Then we found the magic ingredient. I was doing a project for a client, and we were building a knowledge base for them. We needed a whole lot of input from various people within the organisation, and they just wouldn't come, they wouldn't participate. And then when we finished the project, they had a morning tea to celebrate and a whole lot of food, and 80 people turned up, And the client said, great job, and the integral group, and Frank, thanks very much. Is there anything you'd like to say? And I said, yeah, I wish we'd had the morning tea first, because everyone sort of comes to that. Put on a bit of food, put on some muffins and some coffee or whatever, and they'll come along. So even at a sort of family level, if you sort of make this fun and fast and have some food involved, they'll do it. So the other component there is you've got to do this first. You're going to pay the price and time somewhere down the project. And I guess when you're selling this concept to people, that's what I'm saying to them. Hey, let's just do this at a workshop because you're going to pay the price somewhere for some time. Let's do it at the start so we get it right. That's how I sell it. And the techniques I'm going to show you are things that I learnt because we do project management training, and I wanted to bring these elements into my training. I had to think of some fast ways I could do it in a training workshop. And then when I sort of started doing these workshops, I thought, well, how can I do that quickly? Well, gee, I'll use the same technique that I used in the training and actually use it in the real world. And what we've found is it works, and it works really well. And so what we then had to think about, was the tools and things we've used. What we've found is the lower tech we've gone, the better it works. So we use these sort of flip chart things, and we use post-it notes, and we use marker pens. And that's our tools. And people love it. Right, so these workshops, we have sort of two versions. There's the quick and dirty, which takes about an hour, and then there's the deluxe version, which takes about 2 hours. And I just did one with a client last week where we took 3, but the first thing we want to cover off is the background. And so we're going to cover off the background, and then we're going to agree some project objectives, and then we're going to look at some stakeholder analysis, and that'll become our communications plan. And hell, if you're only working with a family, then the communications plan not very big, but then we'll do a risk analysis, and then we'll do a needs and wants analysis, and then we'll do basically who the team is going to be and what governance requirements there are. So governance is really just who has to sign off at various points, to get approval to move forward. So we want to know all that stuff at the outset. So the first thing you need to make sure you do properly when you're running these workshops is to set them up right. And so that involves, having a room somewhere. What we use is these flip charts with the sticky stuff on them, because that way we can go anywhere. You might notice I've got two of them here, one on top of another. That's so when I'm writing on it, I don't rifle over the precious wall when it soaks through. And it's not a good look when you do that to the client. But the next thing we do though is find the venue, and then we'll have a briefing note. So the briefing note just sets out all those things that we've just covered that the workshop's going to cover. But what I'll do is I'll actually have a go at what I think the objectives are as well. So that's in the briefing note, because that way it makes the workshop a heck of a lot quicker. And once you've done one of these, the objectives pretty well come out exactly the same, or more or less, every time. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel with them. If I come to them with something that's 90% fit for them as objectives, and they're always the same, they always have fun, enhance our reputation. So particularly for you guys, enhance your reputation with the client. And for the clients, it's enhanced their reputation with the rest of the organisation. And just make sure you're getting the optimal mix of all the needs and wants and things that client needs. So that might be quality, time, money, and whatever other things they need in there. Meeting the business needs and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of it's like a sweet spot that you're aiming for amongst all those variables. And then the next one is always to just make sure that whatever we do is future-proof, so that we don't do something and go down a route in this project that stops us doing something that not too far down the track we want to do something different and we've now preempted. So all of that's included in the briefing note, and again, it just shows you to be an expert, it shows you to be on the front foot, and it makes your workshop go a lot better and a lot more you can get through it in a lot quicker time. And we just put in there, hey, these are the things we've got to cover, and so you need to have to think about, who the stakeholders are, what might be the risks around this project, and what do you think you might need and want out of this project. Once we get in the room, and even if it's just a couple of people, if you're working with a family as opposed to a business, I still cover off that briefing note first, because what I've found is I've only ever heard about one client where everyone had read it. And so typically they don't read it. So it gives you a starter to sort of base your discussions on when you're together. And the first thing we're also going to do in that is we're going to cover off the background. And you think, well, why do we need him to go there? It's so that everyone's starting on the same page. Some of them might have had it, really know the background, but chances are not everyone will. So we just cover off, remember, here's the background, this is what our project's about, this is why we're doing it, and we cover that off, and then we go into the objectives, and away we go. So the objectives for this video and this piece of training is really, first of all, to have fun. And you think, what are we doing having fun for at work? So we had a leading expert in the world come and talk to us about stress and stress management. And what he taught us was two things. And this was a guy who'd been in a university in the UK. And they'd sort of done all sorts of tests on people. They discovered two things about stress. One is it makes you miserable, and two is it makes you die younger. So we figured, hey, I'm not really into either of those. So all our work and all our training and everything we do with our clients, it's all about having fun, less stress, more success. And but the big message for you guys here is what we've been able to do, and we've done this lots and lots of times now, and so I'm encouraging you to do the same, is we're actually getting paid for something we used to do for free. And but it's not just about that, it's actually we convert more prospects into clients as well, because we're going down this pathway of the free added value thing, then the easy entry product, and then we convert them more. So A, we're getting paid for doing what we used to go around and drink cups of coffee and give them a whole lot of free advice. We're going to get money for that.
Effectively, this might be a session you run.
Yep, this is you now, but I'm running it today. This is something you could do. And it's really easy. Once you've done a couple, piece of cake. And there's some little cheats that I'll give you to make life easier for you. So the first thing I do is I send them out a briefing note. Do they always read it? No. And even if it was just a client, a mum and dad type client, I'd still give them this little briefing note because this is what we're going to cover. And this is what we're going to cover, and this is what you need to think about before we come. Right. So the when I get in the room with them, this maximum for this whole thing is 2 hours, absolute max. If you just do this one, it's half an hour to 3/4 an hour. It's really quick. Regardless of what they know and what you think they know, I still cover off the background. So I would go over, hey, so what you've told me is you know, all this stuff about you've got this seismically challenged building, it's in Wanganui, it's a commercial building, you've got one tenant, you wanted to get 3, the trust owns it, you're not sure of the budget or what's required to do it at this stage, but this is your feeling out phase. And is there anything else you need to add in? So always do it, and I always do that on the whiteboard or a flip chart so that it's there and we can refer back to it. So we're building a picture. So the next thing I do is the project objectives. So what I do in my briefing note is I have a crack at this. So I've had a crack at this for this project, not even knowing what the project was, and now I get you to validate it or tweak it or change it. So again, have fun. You might think, oh, yeah, it's silly, but trust me, this really works. And then with any sort of project, that's typically an optimal mix of the budget, the fit for purpose, and meeting the client's needs. Right? Mm. And in a case like your scenario here, that's like meeting the business needs. So that's time as well. I should put time in there. So is the other thing I've come up with for this particular type of project is a safe, low risk process. So whatever you're going to do with this project, it's nice and safe in terms of low risk and that sort of thing. But with that end goal, less stress and more success. So for your project in Wanganui, are there any other ones that you'd like to add to that? Or are there any others that are typically going to come up in one of your architectural type projects? I have to get stuck in your lollies.
This is the...
No one from Dunedin here today? I could start telling my Dunedin jokes. Did some training down there and they wouldn't talk, so I had to write up signs, you know, laugh, talk. So, but it's probably pretty robust, eh? Yeah. So, isn't that interesting? That's a robust set of objectives, and I didn't even know about this project. But I understand projects. So, if you come in and put up that and they go, yeah, shit, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's a great start. You know, already we're meeting this objective of you showing to be the expert. So we've covered off that. So we've done the background, we've done the objectives.